Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be doing a spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War. So if you have not seen Avengers Infinity War yet, please click off this video, pause it for later, put it on your watch later list, whatever you have to do, and go see Avengers Infinity War. Then come right back here because we are talking nothing but spoilery goodness. So I kind of want to start this review off, or the spoiler review, by talking a little bit about the things that worked for me. We're not going to go on every single point from, first act, second act, third act. We're not going to do that. We're basically just going to kind of talk about the things that worked for me, things that didn't work for me more in depth, and why they did. Also, I want to just point out Avengers Infinity War, as we know, is the highest grossing opening weekend film ever of all time. It beat out Star Wars The Force Awakens. Awesome job for Avengers Infinity War. Congratulations, Disney. No matter what, Disney always wins, okay? Disney beat Disney, so no, Disney always wins. So, with all that out of the way, let's get on to the spoiler review. I want to start off by talking about the opening of the film. Asgard is invaded by Thanos and the Black Order. I think this scene worked so well, and it really showed you how much of the stakes were happening in this film. It showed you what stakes were about to happen, and I thought for me to have this opening like that, it was incredible. It was so different. It was the most unique opening ever in any Marvel film. So, obviously you see Heimdall dies. A lot of the Asgardians die. Not all of them. There's still about half of them that got away on escape pods, which I believe, my theory is that Valkyrie and Korg and Meek are all on that pod that escaped. So I think that's why we don't see them, and I think they're okay. They're a safe bet that we'll be able to see them in the future. But we get Loki. Loki has a Tesseract. No surprise. That was in the trailer. But also, we kind of saw it coming at the end of Thor Ragnarok. He sees the Tesseract, and we knew he wouldn't be able to go away. And I love that line where Thor goes, "We don't have the Tesseract. It was destroyed on Asgard." From the events from Thor Ragnarok, and then Loki, shows that he does have the Tesseract, and then Thor looks at him, he's like, "You really are the worst, brother." I love that line. That was kind of its moment where it kind of gave some love to Thor Ragnarok, and we were able to understand the relationship between Loki and Thor a lot better, and the relationship that they started building at the end of Thor Ragnarok, and even in this film. And then obviously the infamous Loki death scene, which I am really hoping that he really is dead. Not that I don't like Loki. I love Loki. But one thing that makes me so frustrated with Marvel and their formula is that they always have these fake deaths. It's like, oh, this character's dead. Oh, wait, never mind. We're going to bring him back. That does not work for me. Okay, if a character's dead, make it so that way they are dead. Not just now, not just for 2 movies, but forever. I mean, literally, I think Loki is dead this time. I really hope he is. And that was such a beautiful scene. That was one of the scenes that I look back and can reflect on that really emotionally impacted me as a moviegoer. And it was honestly, in my opinion, the best way Loki could have gone out, at the hands of Thanos, and really avenging himself and showing that he is truly on Thor's side. I just absolutely loved that scene. I thought it was so powerful, his death. And then obviously you have the big explosion that happens. Thanos uses the Power Stone, and then there's a big explosion with the aircraft that they were on. And so they're adrift in space. Thor is adrift in space. And then it goes, it shows hints of Tony Stark, and he's with Pepper Potts. And it also, shows, Wong and Doctor Strange. I really love the relationship and the dynamic between Wong and Doctor Strange. I think, and I really like that Wong had a little bit of a role in this film. He wasn't in it much. I do like Wong a lot. I think he's a fun character, and he's a really, really great character that you can really feel yourself being that type of character where you're very unsure about things, and still the small, simple things really mean a lot to you. But I really love the team up between Doctor Strange and Iron Man. You get to see them on the big screen for the first time. I think they had such great dynamic. It wasn't my favorite relationship or meeting, but they had a lot of dynamic. I thought the scenes really worked well with them. I thought the jokes landed fantastically well with them, especially when Iron Man is on the cauldron, and he's like, "Did you really just say, I think it was therefore," or whatever, and then Doctor Strange goes, "Are you really leaning on the cauldron?" And then he smacks him. I thought that worked so well. It was very funny. It was so nice to see those two characters together and their egos, because they both have huge egos, probably the biggest egos in the MCU, and it was great to see them together really being able to mesh well. I just thought they had great connection on screen, and it was fun to see them kind of for the first time together. I also really enjoyed the interactions between that of Rocket and Thor. I think that was my favorite interaction. I love that Thor kept calling him Sweet Rabbit. He's like, "Sweet Rabbit." That was so funny. And Rocket, I love Rocket so much where Rocket just doesn't care. He's like, I've been called worse. I've been called Trash Panda and other things like that. So I really liked that dynamic. I thought that dynamic worked perfectly well. Obviously, Groot and Rocket's chemistry is always great, especially in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and it really worked well in this film as well, Teenage Groot. But yeah, I think that dynamic between those two characters, Thor and Rocket, was my favorite. I laughed every time he said Sweet Rabbit. He said it every time, like he said it every single time, probably like 40 times, and I laughed every time. I just thought it was great. I really liked I liked certain characters' story arcs in this film. One of them in particular is that of Peter Quill, StarLord. A lot of people are complaining about StarLord, obviously because it's his fault that they weren't able to defeat Thanos and get the glove from Thanos and, prevent the snap. But I thought his character worked really well. It showed that a more human side of StarLord, that he really does get affected when the love of his life, Gamora, dies. I mean, I thought of myself. What would happen if my wife died? I would probably act the same way, to be honest. I'd be mad. I wouldn't even want to, I wouldn't be thinking at that moment. I would just literally be mad and really want to avenge her death. And so I think I just love the human elements that they gave to Star-Lord in this film. Yeah, it was his fault that they ultimately lost to Thanos, but I felt like the elements in the story arc that they gave him was very relatable to not only my life, but many other people's lives. What would you do if, the love of your life was dead? Like, this person was the cause of the love of your life. And that, to me, just works so well. It worked really, really well because it really brought me into the film, and I could think more in retrospect about, my own life and what I would do. Another character arc that I loved, absolutely the best character arc in this film, is Thanos. Thanos is the main character in this film. I don't care how if you want to say Iron Man is, Captain America, they're not. Thanos is the main character, and he worked so well in this film. He was one of those villains that was so likable, and that's one reason why I love Darth Vader so much. I know it's just going on to Star Wars, but I love Darth Vader because he's a likable villain, because you understand why he's doing what he's doing. Just like Darth Vader, Thanos saw imperfections in the world, in the galaxy, really, in the universe, and he wanted to change those things, that there was an imbalance, and that the only way to solve this and to really make, a better life for all kind is by killing half of the population of the entire universe. And you really can understand where he's coming from and why he's doing what he's doing. And it's tearing him apart inside. That was the thing I loved about Darth Vader. He was conflicted. It was tearing him apart inside. And you could tell that being on the dark side really was just interfering, a lot with what he wanted to do. And he was trying to be the hero, but going about it the wrong way. And that's the same thing with Kylo Ren. And that's why I like Kylo Ren in the new trilogy of Star Wars. That's why I love Thanos. I really love Thanos. I had a friend, the first night I went and saw it, on Thursday night, my friend Clayton leaned to me and he's like, "I hate Thanos." He's like, "I literally hate Thanos." He was devastated by the ending of this film. And I thought to myself, I can't say that I hate Thanos. I love Thanos. I thought what they did with Thanos made this movie 10 times better than what it could have been without it. I thought his arc His overall story, the reason why he was going about doing everything that he was doing was brilliant. It was brilliant. He was going about it the wrong way, obviously, but in his mind, this is what I love about him. In his mind, he was the hero. He was doing the right thing, and that the Avengers were stopping him from being the hero. So I thought that worked so well, and he was so conflicted and so torn. You saw real emotion from him, especially when he had to get the Soul Stone and he had to sacrifice Gamora, his daughter, the girl he loved the most. And to me, that just works so perfectly with the overall story. And I felt like Thanos' arc, because of that reason, was just that much impeccable and that much better. I also felt, hold on a second. I also felt like another story arc that kind of worked was Gamora's, in that same sense of, kind of where she's coming from. She dies in this film, and when she died, it really impacted me. I put it in my top 5 prediction list, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I had no idea. And I felt like her story arc in this film was a lot better, where she was also conflicted. You could tell in her eyes that she still loved Thanos, that she could still see good in him. And it's a lot like Luke Skywalker with the original trilogy. I know I keep bringing that up, but there's so many similarities here where it reminded me a lot of, when I watched the original trilogy for the first time. You could see the conflict in the villain's eyes, and you can see how the person they love, or the person that, is... Gamora is not really Thanos' flesh. I can't say flesh and blood, but really, it was his daughter. He raised her. You could see how that impacted him so much, and you could see also from Gamora's standpoint where she was trying, that she really wanted Thanos, to not do this, and that she also still really had emotions for Thanos because he did raise her. So I thought that worked really well. I thought some of the character arcs were great. Some of them, obviously, because it's such a big film and there's over 60 main characters in this film, obviously everybody was underused except for Thanos, and that's a sad reality. That was one thing I didn't really like. I felt like there was too much weight sometimes with certain characters. Black Panther. I love Black Panther. You guys know my review. You can see it. But I absolutely loved Black Panther. I thought the film was brilliant. And so, for me, I really like Black Panther, but Black Panther doesn't play a significant part in this film. He's in a few fighting scenes, but really he's very underutilized, very underused. The same could go with anybody else, like Vision. I mean, Vision, yeah, there's parts where he's really important to the story, but he was very underused. So I think that was one of the big issues that I had with the film, but I expected that. I didn't expect them to have all the same amount of screen time. It was very hard. I felt like what the Russo brothers were able to do and utilize the screen time the way that they did was perfect, and I don't think they could have done it any better. I don't think anybody else could have done it really any better, so kudos to the Russo brothers. I think it worked really well. So we've talked about Gamora's death. We talked about Loki's death. I want to talk now about the ending of the film. I don't want to make this a huge, long review. It's better if I had somebody else with me. Unfortunately, I just couldn't have that happen. I wish I could have my buddy Clayton here with me. Maybe we'll talk about it in the future. If you guys would like that, let me know below. If you would want, like Clayton and I to discuss this movie a little bit more in depth and talk about, see his point of view too. So the snap. What did I think about the ending of the film and that the Avengers lost? I thought it was great. I know a lot of people in the theater did not like it. They were not okay with the way it ended, but I was very okay with it. I thought, and it's a complete movie. To me, this was not a part one. This didn't set up for anything. This was a complete movie, except for at the end, the villain wins instead of the Avengers, the heroes that we know and love. And so I thought the snap was brilliant. I thought when Thor got the axe from Forged, I can't even remember what the name of the planet is. Guys, I'm so bad with names. So when he got that axe and when he hit Thanos in the heart, I was thinking to myself, oh man, like, wow, like they won. They won. I cannot believe it. That's the movie. But then when Thanos looks at him and says, you should have gone for the head, and snaps his fingers, that's when my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen now. And then you start seeing slowly characters fade away. Winter Soldier. And when Winter Soldier faded away, I was like, oh my gosh, Winter Soldier's dead. And then when I saw Black Panther and Spider-Man fade away, I was like, oh yeah, never mind. They'll be back. That's the one thing that still bothers me is the fake deaths thing. We know that Spider-Man and Black Panther are coming back. They've already announced Spider-Man Homecoming 2. I mean, when Black Panther died, I was like, wow, maybe they won't do a Black Panther 2. Like, wow, that literally blows my mind. But then when Spider-Man dies, I was like, oh yeah, yep, this didn't actually happen. And so that to me was big. I think that to me, it was the best. It was one of the best parts of the movie. I mean, it was so dramatic, and especially the way that Spider-Man went out. I thought Tom Holland played that off perfectly. The acting in that scene where he's like, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. He was a scared kid. He's a kid. He was scared. He doesn't know what's going to happen, especially dying like that. I've seen people say, oh, well, he's a hero. He shouldn't be crying about dying. He's a kid. He's 17 years old. I couldn't even imagine that. Dying of something that I can't even do anything to try to solve. You just die. It just happened. And so I thought they played it really well. I thought the snap was perfect. I love the way it ended. I really did. That's one of the reasons why I think I want to go back and see it again. And that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite Marvel films now. I can't say it's number one. I believe Winter Soldier's number one. After thinking about it, I believe Winter Soldier's still number one. But the way that the emotions, the dramatic feel of everything, the way that they just withered away into dust, I thought that was incredible. And it was really risky. I was in the theater and I was like, oh man, that's a risk. That's a big risk. And you know what? It paid off. We're going to see these characters again, the ones that faded away. I believe Gamora, Loki, and Vision are dead. I believe they are dead. 100% they're not coming back. I hope so, anyway. I believe that they're dead, but the ones that withered away, we're going to see them again. It's obvious. They're not going to announce Spider-Man Homecoming 2 or not make a Black Panther 2 after how much boatloads of money Black Panther made. It's not feasible. It's not going to happen. So I really love the snap. I love the way that ended. I loved that scene in particular. It really worked for me. It really did. Overall, the movie worked for me. I also loved... Another jaw-dropping moment for me was seeing Red Skull. I did not expect that. I don't think anybody expected that in theater. I remember everybody's like, oh, no way! Like, it was crazy that was to see Red Skull. I thought it was a great cameo. I really don't think Red Skull has anything to do for the future of the MCU. Will we see him back as a villain? Probably not. But it was a great little... plug to have that cameo. I thought it was so good, and nobody expected it. Nobody expected that. That was insane. That was so awesome, and kudos to Marvel for doing that. I thought that was awesome that they were able to do it. Obviously, it wasn't Hugo Weaving. It was Ross Marquand from Walking Dead, but I thought that was awesome that they were able to do that. And then I just want to talk a little bit about the post-credit scene where Nick Fury and Maria Hill, I believe her name's Agent Hill, I think. They're driving in the car, and they're finding out about things that are happening in Wakanda and stuff like that. And then you see all these planes, and these planes are spinning out of control. And then all of a sudden, Maria just vanishes. She turns into dust. And then the best part, Nick Fury grabs the little beaker, and then he's like, "Mother!" And then he just turns into dust. That was so funny. That literally in the script probably didn't say Nick Fury says. It probably said Samuel L. Jackson says, "Mother!" And then boom, just he turns into ash or to dust, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you see the Captain Marvel logo, which shows that Captain Marvel is going to be a huge film to pay attention to, because it will bring us more information heading into Avengers 4. And I am very excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm very excited for Captain Marvel and for Avengers 4. And it's kind of sad that we have to wait a whole year to see what is going to happen. But I absolutely love this movie. The jokes were hilarious. Like I said, so many jokes worked for me in this film. The emotions, excuse me, my voice is kind of shot. The emotions ran high. The stakes were incredibly large. And the snap at the end and the disappearance of many of our favorite Avengers, or MCU characters for that matter, was great. I thought that was such a great nail in the head. And I think, and to me, when people say, oh, this is part one, I can't agree with that. Because of, I'm sorry, man, I got to end this video. Like, let me take another minute. Man, I'm talking a lot. My voice is kind of shot right now. Because of the way it ended and the way that Thanos, like he said, he's like, I really want to, I want this to happen. And then look out on a sunny day or a sunny morning, and I want to see a grateful universe. And when he sees that at the end, when he has that little smirk smile from seeing the sunset, and obviously not a grateful universe at that moment, I thought that really tied a ribbon on this film and made it really a complete film. There was a first act, a second act, and a third act. I really didn't feel like it set up for a lot. Yeah, with the disappearing of some characters and trying to figure out how they're going to come back, that'll be interesting for the next Avengers film. And I feel like that's why a lot of people think that it's a part one, part two type of situation. But to me, it's just one complete movie, and it worked perfectly as just one complete movie. These are my thoughts. This is my spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed Avengers Infinity War. Go out and see it again. That's the one thing I remember from the first time I watched it. I thought to myself, I really need to see this movie again, and I want to see it again. I've seen it twice. I need to see it a third time, and I just love talking about this movie with anybody that I can. But also, if you know people that haven't seen this film yet, please do not spoil it for them. Like I said, this, obviously you guys have seen it because you're watching this video. If not, then I don't know why you clicked on this video. Pretty pointless. Because now you know most of the spoilers. I didn't talk about every single thing like I could have, but I'm thinking about making a video with Clayton. We'll see. I'll talk to him about it, and maybe we'll go more in depth and have a bigger spoiler review on Avengers Infinity War, because there's a lot of things to talk about in this movie that I didn't cover. So anyway, guys, I love you, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.